Hey guys, what's happening? You have landed on another edition of Syracuse Basketball Postgame, presented by Krause Health, the exclusive healthcare partner for Syracuse Athletics. Brent Axe with you here. Thanks for hanging with us tonight as Syracuse loses to Clemson. 86-72 was your final at Littlejohn Coliseum. It appeared there was a three-pointer at the end. Elijah Moore, for some reason, is taking a three with everybody pretty much in the handshake line, but they did wave that off. So it was an 86-72 final score. And even if it was an 86-75 final score, listen, Syracuse got run in this game, okay? They did win the second half, and there were some signs of life, but Clemson just outside of the first 10 minutes, which was a game, Clemson took over and just was kind of the big brother holding the head of the little brother that's trying to punch his big brother. And it just predictable in the sense that when Syracuse plays good teams, when Syracuse tries to punch up, they can't land a punch. Hence the analogy there, right? You got the big brother holding the head and they can't even land a punch on Big Brother. So this is a predictable team when they play good teams. When they play 50-50 games, when you look in the standings and you're like, okay, Notre Dame, same record. They're even down 17 in that game and come back to win. And this team has been like the epitome of Al Pacino, right? The only good part of The Godfather Part 3. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Well, now you're out and they're going to have to pull you back in on Saturday when they take on Pittsburgh at the JMA Wireless Dome. Another good team, albeit a good team that is struggling right now, so perhaps an opportunity for Syracuse. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. We will certainly hear from our Syracuse Sports Insiders coming up here. Being a Syracuse Sports Insider means you get to text me directly anytime. 315-847-3895. That is our Syracuse Sports Insider text line. You can text the word orange to that number if you haven't signed up yet. We'd love for you to try it free for 2 weeks. It's just $3.99 a month after that. And Syracuse Sports Insiders get their voice heard exclusively on the postgame show on Syracuse Sports, including, by the way, quick programming announcement, friends. Tomorrow, depending on when you're watching or listening to this, it could be Thursday, January 23rd, at 3 o'clock Eastern time, we're going to do a live edition of Syracuse Sports, and I'm hoping to make that at least a once-a-week thing, that we do a live edition of Syracuse Sports. Certainly, if you are a regular viewer and listener of the postgame shows that are live, that's just normal for you to come hang after Syracuse games. But we wanted to bring that live aspect to the pod, hopefully once a week. I think Thursday afternoons is going to be our window. We're going to, try it for a couple of weeks and see what's good in terms of times and everything. But come hang tomorrow on this channel, wherever you watch. Certainly subscribe and follow on Apple, on Spotify, on YouTube, Syracuse Sports. And we're going to do a live show tomorrow and talk more than basketball because certainly it can be a little depressing sometimes to just focus on basketball. All right, let's get to this game here. This is the 6th double-digit loss for Syracuse this season. They had 9 all of last year in Adrian Autry's debut season. And look, technically he won 20 games, but let's be honest, he won 19. Chaminade is not a Division I team. I don't count that. He won 19 games in his first season. He had 9 losses in double-digit category. They're at 6. This team, when they lose, when they play good teams, man, do they lose, right? You look at how it stacks up this year, and I'm going in order of the season. 96-70 loss to Tennessee, who at one point was the number 1 team in the country, 26-point loss. 87-60 loss to Maryland, the worst of the season, that was 27 points. 90-74 loss to Florida State, 16 points. 85-61 loss to Louisville, that's 24 points. They lost to Wake Forest by 10, so technically a double-digit loss. This would not have been a double-digit loss had that 3 counted, but again, don't be fooled by that score. They got run in this game, so they lose 86-72. That and Clemson led by as many as 24 points in this game. Clemson outscores Syracuse 28-10 over the last 10 minutes of the first half. Syracuse had to go to a zone because Clemson was hitting their shots, and this is the top 3-point shooting team in the league. You don't want to play zone against this team unless you absolutely have to. And Syracuse absolutely had to because Clemson shot 58%, nearly 39% from the three-point line in the first half. They throttled Syracuse in the paint 26-6. And I want to focus on that for a second. Clemson is bigger, they're stronger, they're physical, they're always a physical team. It's always a challenge. They're a good defensive team. But those points in the paint, for the most part, were just drives to the basket, just straight shots to the hoop. Clemson moves the ball a lot better. They're more active. Certainly some good offensive sets. You got Chase Hunter, one of the better players in the league, hitting deep threes at times. You know, you can't do anything about those, right? Good players are going to hit good shots. You just kind of absorb those and move on. They outscore Syracuse in the paint 40-20, and a lot of that is just straight drives to the hoop. We know this. I'm not breaking any news here. It's a poor defensive team that can't even play basic defense. Clemson does not have to go deep into the playbook here, into the X's and O's. Just drive to the hoop, and Syracuse is going to let you get there. Points off turnovers. Clemson ends up at 19-4, and for a good part of this game, it was 14-0, 16-0. Syracuse with, what did they end up turnovers-wise? I mean, the points off turnovers is what stands out. They had a total of 14 turnovers in this game. Again, a trend. This is a team that turns the ball over consistently. Not every team that Syracuse has played has cashed that in for a significant amount of points. Clemson does. 19 points off turnovers. So you can't, and here's another stat I really want to grab a red pen, if you will, and circle. Fast break points. Clemson 11, Syracuse nothing in that department. Now, it's easy for us to watch these games, which have just been stagnant, to use a word aesthetically, like run, push the ball, fast breaks. This is what Adrian Autry has said he wants to do. But guys, if you're going to get out on fast breaks, you got to play defense. Okay, you've got to get some stops. You've got to poke the ball away. This is why when you've had players, look, I had my issues with Judah Mintz when he was here at Syracuse, but the guy was up top of the league in steals. Steals lead to breaks the other way. You can't just, you can try to generate offense. You can try and go at a faster clip. Certainly when you have the ball in the half court, you can move it. You can cut to the basket. And I'm going to go over the box score in a minute here because J.J. Starling, you're excused from this conversation. J.J. Starling at 25 points. J.J. Starling, if he didn't have the game he did tonight, this would have been a much bigger blowout, probably the biggest blowout of the season. So, JJ, you are excused from this conversation because you do all the things that you're supposed to, where the rest of this team and the sets from Autry, and they just, it is, the word is stagnant. This is a stagnant team on offense that doesn't do what the coach wants to do. So you can put that on him, but I think you got to put that on the players a little bit too. Because the way that Autry has described how he wants the ball to move, fast-paced offense, and like I don't want to just say back in my day and back when Syracuse was Syracuse, the ball freaking moved. It was up and down the court. But again, to generate that fast break, you got to play defense. Syracuse played great defense in the second half of the Notre Dame game. Not only did they adjust to Marcus Burton, they were moving on defense. I mentioned Syracuse had to go to the zone for a little bit in this one, but then Chase Hunter hit some threes and it didn't really matter at that point. But you can make up for these deficiencies. Look, when you're on a court with a team that you know is more talent than you, is great at home. They've only lost one game at home, and that was to Louisville. It's one of the better teams in the ACC, who Syracuse lost to, 85-61, right? You have to make up for these things in what you can control. And shout out to Michael Carter-Williams. This is the first time I got a chance to watch Michael Carter-Williams at halftime, the games that he's done for the ACC network. I've been at the Dome and haven't been able to watch him, but I got to watch him tonight. And by the way, I think he's doing a great job. He's smooth. He's not a screamer. He's not somebody that gets in there and is loud, even though he was pretty pissed off at halftime, as you could see. I like MCW, though. He's kind of easing into it. He's got a great host in Taylor Tannenbaum, who I'm a huge fan of. She's been a guest on the pod. She'll be on the pod again, and she's one of the best out there. So he's working with a true pro, but he's smooth. That's the word that I'm like, smooth. He's confident. He's chill. Like, he's not a screamer in there. But he was ticked at halftime, and he said something that really stood out to me. He said, Syracuse is doing and he started off the conversation by saying how unhappy he was, not hiding his, his alma mater, his affiliation with his alma mater. But he said, they're doing a bad job controlling things they can control. Let me say that again. They're doing a bad job controlling things they can control. You know what you can control? Bust your ass. Move on offense. Move on defense. Get after it. Okay? There's a difference between that and saying a team doesn't play hard. I'm saying this I'm not telling you this team doesn't play hard. I mean, once it became 15, 20-point differential, you can see the energy drop. You can see just their body language and everything. They know they're getting run, and that happens. But you can it's the old expression. How many coaches have you heard through the years say it, right? Control the controllables. This team does not control the controllables. You can control that, and they don't. So, again, JJ, you're excused. Eddie Lampkin, you're somewhat excused from this conversation. You missed some bunnies in this thing, but you give me 14-9, I'll take it. That's, by the way, first, and Eddie had come into this game. I want to say he had four straight double-doubles coming into this game tonight. So, Eddie, you're somewhat excused from this, and Eddie always plays hard. But let's go around the box score here. Lucas Taylor plays 24 minutes. He has 4 points. He took 1 3-point shot. He took 3 shots overall. Elijah Moore played 11 minutes. For some reason, shot a 3 at the end of the game. Don't do that. And I was telling our Syracuse Sports Insiders that Moore needed to be in this game. I think he needs to learn by experience, make mistakes. Made a mistake there, right? But you're down by 15 points. And Jaquan Carlos, who tonight, Carlos was great against Notre Dame. Not so great tonight. 7 points, 3 of 5. He did hit a 3 assists. 3 assists from a guy that's supposed to generate offense out there in 20 minutes, okay? But Elijah's got to play more in these spots. He starts the game. He got into foul trouble. He struggles on defense. I get it. But when you're down by 15 and the guy that's in for him is not exactly killing it, why? And he did come in late in the game. Give him experience. Let him make those mistakes. What do you have to lose at this point? Especially when the guy that's in there for him ain't exactly killing it, right? Jair Davis, 6 points, 5 rebounds. I can't scream this from the rooftops enough. They need more from him. This is the 5th straight game. Donnie Freeman was out, which we have to have a conversation about that, and we will, coming up here shortly. Davis takes 6 shots. It's 2 of 6. And again, 2 of 4 from three-point range. He keeps proving me wrong in that sense. But see, here's the thing with Davis hitting threes. No one's guarding him. No one comes into these games and says, man, be on that dude at the three-point line. He gets open looks because he's not a priority to guard from the three-point line. So I hope you can make a couple of wide open threes. But you need more from Davis for the position he's in there. In the paint. Feed him inside. 6 points, 5 rebounds. Right? Kyle Cuff, 15 minutes. He scores 9 points. Couple at the free throw line. He did hit a 3, missed a dunk. Kyle's going to give you energy. He's going to charge the hoop. But he just was not in a position tonight to do what Kyle Cuff can do, especially when you're down 14, 16, 18 points. Here we go again with Chris Bell. I don't know if he's going to, we'll see who he changes his Instagram profile picture to tonight. 4 points. He shot twice. He didn't shoot a 3 in 18 minutes. All Chris Bell does is linger on the three-point line. And he doesn't shoot a 3. You need Chris Bell to shoot threes. They've got to find a happy medium to get him involved in the offense. And again, JJ was hot, okay? JJ's scoring. He's busting his ass. He's scoring inside. He's hitting threes. You feed the hot hand, right? I'm not saying don't do that. Don't get me wrong here. But how does Chris Bell play 18 minutes and not shoot a 3? The Maestro in 21 minutes, sometimes you look at the box score and it's deceiving that the numbers aren't there in the minutes that he played. He didn't help you tonight. He had 3 rebounds. He was great against Notre Dame. He does a lot of those off the box score type of things. I think Autry's fascination with Pitar a little bit sometimes. He'll linger a little bit too long on the lineup when he really shouldn't be in there at times. But again, when you're down by 15 points for most of the second half, even though Syracuse won the second half by score, it doesn't really matter. So again, I'm trying to be fair because when JJ's hot, you got to let JJ go. JJ's your go-to guy. Don't, it's like Animal House. Forget it. He's rolling, right? Just let him roll. But I'm looking around that box where I'm like, can somebody else please get involved in this offense? Can Jair Davis get the ball? And again, Clemson, good team, physical team, big guys. But Is that just what we're going to say? Oh, Clemson's bigger and stronger and faster, and Syracuse couldn't do anything. I mean, are you in the ACC too? Did you recruit some athletes? Are you guys just like looking over there like, oh, they're too big for us? Like, come on. Right? So I'm just as frustrated watching the lack of anything offensively. We're still at this point of the year, and our Syracuse Sports Insiders had a pretty good assessment of this that we'll get to here shortly. We're still at this point of the season, and I'm watching this thing. What are you doing on offense? What is this thing? And when Autry has described it, it's not what he pretends it to be. It pretends it to be. Pardon me. For 10 minutes, this was a game. For 10 minutes, they were in it. Clemson was hot shooting the ball. Whatever, it was the old song. Anything you can do, I can do better. JJ scoring. They go down and score. Hunter's a great player. And they've got a couple of great players on that team. Shout out to Clemson. But they balance out the scoring. Hunter's got 23. Lakin's got 16. Ian Shefflin was out there playing hurt. He doesn't even practice right now. He's so banged up. He manages 11 points out there. Zachary with 14. Then I look at Syracuse's box score, and it's a one-man band. Somewhat of a two-man band with Lampkin, right? How can you get these other guys involved in the offense and pretend to run the offense that Autry says he wants to? And again, that goes back to what Michael Carter-Williams said. Here's the quote again. Bad job controlling the things that they can control. They still do a bad job with that, right? So it's frustrating. It's sad. It's all the words you can use to describe it, because going into games against good teams that they're going to lose. And what you're just hoping for is don't make it another one of these double-digit losses. Don't make it another one of these embarrassing losses. Don't make it one of these, and I went over them. That's the 6th of the year. Well on track to at least tie or surpass the double-digit losses of 9 that they had last year, right? These are the things that turn fans off. These are the things that frustrate fans. Aesthetically, they're watching and it's like, give me something to root for. Give me something to cling on to. Give me a reason to watch, other than I'm a Syracuse fan and I'm obligated to watch games, right? This team is still, and again, just when you think they're out, they pull you back in. They could go beat Pittsburgh on Saturday and make you feel like, oh, wait a minute, they might have found something here, but we're about to flip into February here in what is a down ACC. We're starting to see the cream rise to the top. Syracuse clearly is not there. I mean, at least Syracuse is on track to make the ACC tournament at this point. They weren't just a short week or so ago. But one of our insiders brings it up here shortly about just this is a pretty bleak winter overall for Syracuse basketball. The women's program is really struggling right now too. So that's it. To sit down when the game starts and have that defeated feeling just by looking in the standings, that's not the feeling you should have as a fan. You should at least think they've got a shot in this thing, and that's not Syracuse basketball. But that's what it's not, but it is, right? That's not Syracuse basketball by the orange standard that has been set, but that is who they are, right? So now you look at Pittsburgh. They've lost 4 straight. They got blown out by Duke. Close loss to Louisville, who's a top team in the league. They lost to Florida State, and they just lost to this Clemson team by 3. And by the way, Pitt's going to come to the Dome basically I think they had a week off. I don't think they have a midweek game. I think their bye showed up on the schedule here. Yeah, they played Clemson, and they come to Syracuse. So they're going to have a little more time off. They could be stale. And that brings me back to a point I made after the Notre Dame game. And I've made several times this year, frankly. The first half counts too. They put points on the scoreboard and everything, right? This team actually had the lead at the under 16 timeout, which has been a rare thing this year. That's happened, I believe, less than 5 times this year. And if I'm wrong, I'm not far off there. Why this team always struggles out of the gate? I mean, that's coaching. You got to have a plan. That's when all your strategy's there. That's when you're coming in, and things change during the game. Coaching is also making adjustments, and they did. They made great adjustments on Saturday against Notre Dame when Marcus Burton was lighting the world on fire. They came out in the second half. They were a completely different team. So credit where it's due. You have to make adjustments. You have to be flexible. But I don't think Autry's quick to make those adjustments enough in the first half. You have all these TV timeouts. You have all these opportunities to change. And it's not like it's not for lack of lineup changes, some of the hockey lines he puts in. But man, there'll be guys that have momentum out there and he'll pull them out. There'll be guys that clearly have been out there 2, 3, 4 possessions too long. And you're like, why are you sticking with this guy? Now, sometimes you got to ride it and, you don't have a timeout. You don't have an opportunity to sub guys out. That's the case. But mostly it's not. Mostly it's like tonight when we're watching the second, like, why isn't Elijah Moore in this game at this point? And he had 3 fouls and he struggles on defense and all those things. But man, you got to let freshmen struggle sometimes. You're down by 15. You can't shoot threes. Moore has to, just to use him as an example, get into the flow of college basketball, know what it's like on the road in the ACC. Put him in there, see how he handles it. And if he's, if he's out there just getting his doors blown off and racking out fouls, and then get him out. But man, you're down by 15 anyway. So I don't know. It's just a lot of little things, and a lot of people that look at this and they just don't know what they're watching. They don't know what the orange standard is. They don't know what the substitution patterns are. They don't know what the things are they're supposed to attach themselves to. What's the identity of this program, right? Those things show up against better teams, right? Your identity is supposed to shine through against the better teams on the schedule. What shows up when Syracuse plays good teams is a lot of mystery, a lot of inconsistency, and things they just don't seem to be able to carry over. Now, Donnie Freeman was out again tonight. This is 5 straight games, so he's no longer day-to-day. I think we can say that. He's not practicing. As of what Autry said on Monday at the ACC coaches call, he can't put any weight on his foot. So let me just express what I would call some informed speculation here, okay? I think Donnie Freeman is contemplating whether or not he's going to play again this season. I think his injury is serious enough that he may have to contemplate treatment, surgery, something that would put you in a position where Autry would include the terminology. It's up to him and his camp whether he comes back. Because Donnie Freeman is somebody who's an NBA prospect, has to think about that. And by the way, I completely support that. He's got some big decisions to make about. And there's an example to be held here. Chris McCullough played a handful of games at Syracuse, got hurt, still was a first-round draft pick. Still, I mean, he flamed out of the league, but, I mean, my man made a few $1 million. He played in the NBA. He was the 28th overall pick, something like that. You got to think about these things. But when you've missed 5 games and your foot is in a boot, you're clearly not practicing, and we're kind of in no man's land here. Now, Donnie's played in 32% of Syracuse's games this year. Why does that matter? The redshirt cutoff is you have to play in 30% or less if you want a redshirt. I don't think he wants to redshirt because, again, he could be a one-and-done guy. I would highly advise Donnie Freeman to come back next year, although next year's roster is interesting. You got Sadiq White coming in, position-wise, how do you work that out? That's a good problem to have if Donnie Freeman and Sadiq White and Kiyan Anthony and certain individuals you hope come back and a couple other guys in the recruiting class are there. Like, that's why you pay coaches a lot of money to figure these things out. But Donnie seems to be at the old fork in the road here. With just over a month of regular season play to go, they are halfway through the season. What do you do? Is it the type of injury, then I don't know this. I know it's a foot injury. We all know that. But is it the type of injury like, okay, you can play through it. You can't make the injury worse, but you got to deal with the pain. Or is it an injury? It's like, no, man, you don't want to risk it. Because if you go out there and you can make it worse, right? Now, again, that's informed speculation on my part. And I want to stress the word speculation. I have no inside info on this. But that kind of feels like where we're at, especially when Autry's saying it's up to him and his camp what he wants to do. That doesn't sound like, an old day-to-day, his ankle hurts and when it feels better, he'll be back. Or even a JJ situation. We knew once it was declared that JJ had a broken hand, it's like, okay, well, that's 4 to 6 weeks, and you can kind of map it out. He should be back here, and bing, bang, boom, it becomes a cleaner process. Clearly, this team needs Donnie Freeman. They need his offensive production. And to be fair, this is a team that went I shouldn't say a bulk of the season, but a good part of the season, 7 games without its star. JJ and Donnie Freeman have barely played together. Think of the inside-out combo they could be. Think of the offensive production I was bringing up, the lack of in the box score. Donnie Freeman was just at about a double-double per game. Was starting to get it. He's got to work on his defense a lot, but that's a guy who went out there. So we saw clearly how much this team needed JJ. So now I think we have to start saying, how much does this team need Donnie Freeman? Because I brought it up earlier. I like Jair Davis. I enjoy talking to him in the locker room. He's been a leader other places, a captain at Delaware. I just think he can do so much more in the paint. And it's great that you hit a couple threes in this game. That's not why you're in the game, especially when Donnie Freeman's. And Donnie can hit threes. It's not like Donnie doesn't drift out to the three-point line. But Jair has done, I would say, an admirable job in place of Donnie Freeman, but I think he's capable of more. If I was watching him saying that's all he can do, and he just got to grin and bear it, that'd be one thing. I don't believe that, though. I think he's a better player in the paint. I feel like they've got to run more plays for him. I feel like they can get him the ball, right? So we'll see about that. But that's the 5th game. Also absent tonight, by the way, is Syracuse assistant coach Alan Griffin. He did not make the trip to Clemson. And the reason he did not make the trip was his girlfriend is pretty close to going into labor. So congratulations to Griff and his girlfriend. Little one is on the way here anytime. And that's why Adrian Autry told him, you stay home, we'll figure this out, right? So I don't know. Maybe the baby was born today. I don't know. Last I heard, right before game time, that's why he did not travel to the game. But congratulations to Coach Griff. Okay. Congratulations to our Syracuse Sports Insiders, who also had a lot of great things to say about this game. Now, maybe I should amend that. Not a lot of great things to say in terms of how the team played and what they saw, but some great insight into how they're feeling and what they're seeing. How about that, right? Rich R will lead us off tonight saying, not much to say, Brent. Cuse can't compete with higher echelon teams. The season can't end fast enough for me. Michael B says, I can't remember watching a more subpar Syracuse basketball team in my lifetime. They lack an identity and do not excel in any aspect of the game of basketball. If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it must be a duck. Syracuse is a duck, and this season, they're a lame one. Yeah. See what I mean? Not great things to say, but they're expressing themselves well. I will put it that way. Oh, you're just being negative, Brent. Again, I'll let you into the texts. Find me the positive ones. This is how the people are feeling right now. A lot of great texts after the Notre Dame game, but you got to take your medicine after the bad losses too. Rich P says, I've always been positive going back 45 plus years. Longtime fan. This team is different. Unfortunately, the biggest consistency is the lack of discipline. Looking forward to 25-26. And look, while we're on that note, and I've brought this up several times on the pod, and I'll keep coming back to it, the beacon over the hill, right? Should they bring back Autry after this season? They're going to. Whether you feel they should or not, they're going to. John Wildhack is short of just an utter collapse. He's going to give him next year. With Sadiq White, with Kion Anthony coming in. You want a positive note? Man, Sadiq White. Read this, and I'm not just shilling our stuff. This is great insight. I would say this even if I didn't work at syracuse.com. Donna DeToda and Connor Pignatello have written terrific stories about Sadiq White lately. So Donna was in Florida for the Florida State game, and he's at IMG. Got to visit with him. There's a great video on our YouTube channel, Syracuse Orange Sports. Listen to Sadiq White talk for 2 minutes and tell me, like, you don't love that kid. He's excited about coming to Syracuse. He can't wait not only to play with Kion, but play in front of the Dome crowd. So Connor was at the Hoop Hall Classic this past weekend, which takes place in Springfield, where the Basketball Hall of Fame is. Best high school teams in the country every year are there. Kion was there as well, although they didn't face off with each other. To hear Sadiq White talk and Kion talk about how they can't wait to play together and pair up together and get Syracuse basketball back to where it is. But here's the big thing. I'm kind of burying the lead. Sadiq White, by all accounts, if you've seen him in person, if you've watched him on a YouTube stream, talking to coaches, talking to people that know the game, he's a great defensive player. What a breath of fresh air that's going to be for a team that we once again saw tonight struggle on defense. Points in the paint. Clemson just, here you go. Olay, right to the basket you go. Sadiq White, and it's a lot of pressure on a freshman, but see, this is the pressure they're putting on themselves. You missed the tournament, as in all likelihood will be the case for the fourth straight year, and all that comes with that. Keep piling up the double-digit losses. The fans and attendance, despite the numbers they're telling you, is down, and the general feeling around the program is down. You're putting a lot of pressure on next year. You're putting a lot of pressure to get back to the tournament, and you're putting a lot of pressure on those freshmen. As we've seen this year, that doesn't always work out. Donnie Freeman got hurt, and Freeman had his struggles in other ways. Elijah Moore clearly has struggled. It is almost February, and it looks like it's his first day out there sometimes. So that's a lot of pressure to put on Sadiq White and Kiyan Anthony next year, but man, everything I've seen and heard from Sadiq White lately, it gives you some hope. It gives you a sense of enthusiasm, especially for somebody who is chomping at the bit to get here. He's all in. So if you want a positive note amidst all this, negativity, if you will, go watch that video, go read those stories, and follow Sadiq White the rest of the year, because that's encouraging. That's encouraging. What kind of player he is and what kind of person he is, and he plays defense. Lacey, go wake up Ryan. I didn't expect a win tonight, but I have been reminded nearly daily on my social media memories that this used to be a winning team. This season just hurts. The math ain't mathin', as the kids say, with this team's shooting choices. From Jared A., who says, Red substitution patterns continue to feel totally random with only 12 games left in the season. Guys show flashes, and then he takes them out. Other guys struggle, and they stay in. He adds, I'm not trying to pile on the guy, but we just look totally lost against any team that can be considered very good. Jeff A. says that this team is so non-competitive, it's deeply concerning. The administration seems to think next year's class will, like a magic wand, change everything. Is equally concerning. I was just saying it. A lot of pressure to put on that team next year and those guys. Bob says, I think both the men and the women are at a crossroads vibe-wise. I hope I'm wrong, but I suspect both will finish under 500. Bob, in a short statement there, hit the nail on the head. The vibes, as the kids would say these days, the vibes right now, not good around Syracuse basketball. TM says Syracuse used to be, speaking of which, what got us through the cold, dark winters. Yeah. What was it when I woke up this morning? I think it was 2 degrees at Syracuse. But you guys are getting snow in Florida. You're getting snow in New Orleans. You're getting snow in it's the Gulf of America now, I believe I have to call it. So everyone's cold these days. But yeah, basketball is what gets us through the winters here in Syracuse. But as TM goes on to say, sad how far the program has fallen. They aren't even competitive against average teams. Now, that's not an average team that they played out there, but I get what you're saying. From Seth B., who says, Freeman being out hurts in 2 ways. First, we could use his presence in a game like tonight where we're getting killed on the boards in the paint. Second, he needs game experience to get better, so every game he misses will reverberate the rest of this season. Yeah, even if he comes back from, what kind of foot injury is that? That's a really tricky injury for a big man to have, right? And Frankie S. will close us out here from the Syracuse Sports Insiders. Says, I'm just numb to this now. Good effort at times, but eventually the talent of the better team wins out. So who will win out on Saturday? Syracuse plays Pitt. It's a 12:30 tip at the Dome on Saturday. I mentioned, Pitt's lost 4 in a row. Clearly Pitt's a better team than Syracuse, but they're sliding right now. They are struggling. They've had a week to kind of reassess, figure some things out. What kind of crowd will be there on Saturday? The first 5 to 8 minutes of the Notre Dame game, the boos were coming down from the crowd, and it wasn't 1 or 2 things. It was just a general observation of, what are you doing out there? Why are you shooting threes and missing all these threes and still shooting these? That's an educated fan base, a good fan base that kind of saw something in the first few minutes of that game that were old patterns that they've seen so far this year and didn't want to see continue. That crowd got a great second half and an intense comeback and a team that controlled the controllables on defense and figured it out. Now, Clemson is much better than Notre Dame. Pitt, are they in between the two? I still think Pitt's on that level of a Clemson or a Louisville, not necessarily Duke, but they are struggling right now. So can Syracuse kind of seize that opportunity, come back home? And again, guys, the first half counts. You played well for the first 8 to 10 minutes in the first half here, but man, you got to get that crowd into it. You can't have these mistakes on offense. You got to come out ready, sharp, control the controllables, and get that crowd into it. No matter what they list the crowd as, sometimes 14,000 people can sound like 40,000. If you give them something to attach themselves to, right? If you give them something to root on. So I'm as curious as anybody. How they play, again, just when you think they're out, they pull you back in, and that's their task once again for a team that straddled the 500 line all year, and they're back below it now after losing to Clemson tonight. 86-72 was your final. Syracuse and Pitt on Saturday, but again, don't forget, Thursday, 3 o'clock Eastern Time. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Syracuse Sports. Our Syracuse Orange football and basketball Facebook pages will be live. Our Syracuse Orange Sports YouTube page will be live. We're going to start doing a live version of Syracuse Sports once a week, Thursday afternoons. This week we're going to do it at 3. Might be a different time as we go forward, but I'm looking forward to doing that. Looking forward to Chris Carlson joining me on the show. You guys can certainly line up your comments about all things Syracuse sports to be highlighted from our Syracuse Sports Insider text line, because only Syracuse Sports Insiders get their voice heard on the Syracuse Sports podcast and these post-game shows. So tomorrow, we're going to certainly get a little bit more into hoops here and the aftermath of this one, but LaQuint Allen is surging up the NFL draft charts. Mel Kiper Jr. had him as his third-rated running back. And Mel Kiper Jr. was on the ACC network today and said that Kyle McCord, LaQuint Allen, and OG could all be second-round picks. So there's a lot of football in the air that we will get into, and a couple other things that Chris and I will discuss tomorrow, 3 o'clock Eastern Time, live, but you can always catch it on demand when you want if you subscribe and follow on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Syracuse Sports. Okay, so we're looking forward to that. Thanks for hanging with us tonight. Our next post-game show will be Saturday afternoon after the Orange take on Pitt. That's a 12:30 tip, so we'll be on Saturday afternoon with another live edition of Syracuse Basketball Postgame presented by Krause Health. Thanks for hanging tonight. We will talk to you again soon, my friends. This has been Syracuse Sports.